Hello, lovely teacher. Do you consciously use your breathing to affect how you act in a given situation? Did you know that small tweaks in how you breathe can have a quick impact on how much energy you feel and how calm you are? In this video, I'm going to share my favorite techniques, simple and practical, for doing just that. I'm Justin from TeachHuman, where we believe with all our hearts that teaching and learning well should not cost anyone their health or their identity. If that sounds good to you, be sure to subscribe to be notified of a new video every week to help you both teach well and be well. To keep things simple in this video, we're going to focus on just one family of techniques that all have to do with our out-breath. So go ahead and breathe. Now in this video, I won't take you through a full breathing exercise because I just want to focus on the techniques and the information that you need to get started right away. But let me know in the comments if you would like a video or more that's just devoted to me doing some breathing exercises with you. Now I'm going to invite you first to consciously lengthen that out breath. In other words, literally breathe out for a bit longer than you have been and for a little bit longer than you breathe in. Now, it might take a few cycles through those phases of your breath for you to get the hang of how deeply do you need to breathe in order then to breathe out longer. That's fine. Just keep going through those cycles and trying to extend that out breath a little bit while I tell you a little bit about why we're doing this. And by the way, this is all based in modern present day neuroscience, although some of these things are things that meditators have known for millennia. But I want to emphasize that you do not have to be a seasoned meditator. You don't have to meditate at all. You don't need tons and tons and tons of practice. You don't need to be some kind of guru for these techniques to start helping you right away. Although, of course, as with many things, you will become more and more automatic with them with practice. So what neuroscientists tell us is that every time we breathe in, during those actual seconds that we're breathing in, our body goes into a mini standby for fight or flight mode, meaning our heart rate quickens, blood rushes to our large muscle groups. In order to do that, it has to come from somewhere else. And one of the places that it tends to come from is our frontal cortex, where we make good decisions, among other things. So those are some processes that happen on a micro scale, on a small scale, every time we breathe in. And conversely, every time we breathe out, our body returns to a mini phase of the opposite of fight or flight, which sometimes for fun we call rest and digest. Our heart rate calms and slows. Blood is redistributed in our body, especially to our frontal cortex, where we make wise and rational decisions. And that's more the way that we can live long term. So what this means is that we can actually trick our bodies into thinking that they need more energy and need to be ready to go, or that they're calmer than they, being our bodies, that our bodies are calmer than they actually were before we started breathing like this. And that can be really powerful in all kinds of situations in teaching and in life. So let me talk first about how and why I might use this lengthened out breath as a technique. Basically, anytime I need to be calmer. I'll give you a classroom example. Maybe here I am teaching, I'm interacting with my students, we're having a discussion, everything is going great, but I notice out of the corner of my eye that someone in the back of the room, maybe a group of students in the back of the room, is doing things that aren't good for the flow of the class. They're not so dangerous or so inappropriate that I need to stop class and make it a teachable moment or intervene for the sake of someone's safety, but it is something that I want to address. So I'm going to work my way back there while continuing to watch over or interact with students. But while I work my way over there, I'm going to purposely lengthen my out breath to increase my calm. And I have found, if you read neuroscience articles about this, a lot of times they'll say that about 1 minute's worth of lengthening that out breath consciously is enough to make a really noticeable, measurable difference in a person's calmness. I've found that usually just about 3 breaths are enough to make a really noticeable difference, where I'm going to act more calmly after those breaths. So I'm just going to use those 3 breaths that it takes me to get over to the corner of the room where the students I referenced are, to breathe out calmly, so that by the time I get there, I am prepared to respond or to deal with the situation in a calm and rational way, rather than kind of respond to the anger or the annoyance or whatever it is that might be bubbling over and might lead to sarcasm or some other unhealthy response. So that's just one example of how, in a really practical way, this lengthened out breath can help you in your teaching. But it can apply to lots of other elements of your teaching day as well. Maybe you're on your way into school and you're expecting it to be a stressful day. Use that walk from your car to the school, or from the subway to the school, however you get there. Use that to lengthen some of your out breaths so that you're calmer for your day by the time you arrive. Maybe you're going to go into a tricky parent meeting or a tricky meeting with colleagues or supervisors, who knows, and you want to be at your best. You want to be at your most rational, at your calmest in that meeting. Use that time beforehand to breathe out more slowly and calmly. And of course, it's not just at school that you can use this technique, right? You can use this throughout your entire life, before tricky interactions, before dealing with something stressful, or when something stressful comes up and you suddenly feel your body go into that fight or flight mode. You can use the out breath lengthening technique to consciously, physically calm your body. I use it all the time. I use it while I'm driving places. I use it before entering a room. I actually used it before clicking record for this video so that I would be calmer for the video itself. So I commend the technique of lengthening your out breath to you for increased calm. Now, if what you actually need is an energy boost, you can do the opposite, right? You can focus on that in-breath, take a nice deep in-breath and have a shorter out-breath in order to give yourself that energy boost. And again, it only takes 3, maybe 4 breaths of doing that to get the effect. So something like, see how I did that long in-breath and a shorter out-breath? And I made it pretty pronounced so that you could hear it here on the video, but you don't need to make it necessarily that pronounced and audible. So when might you use this? Maybe this is also in a school situation and you're about to go into a class, maybe it's first period, maybe it's right after lunch, that tends to be a lower energy environment, either for you or for students or overall. You can use that lengthened in-breath, shortened out-breath to give yourself an energy boost. This is so powerful, actually, that I've read articles warning you not to do this for too long, not to do it for more than about 10 breaths, or else you could actually get this like oxygen rush that makes you woozy. So be careful about that, or get your heart pumping almost like too fast, uncomfortably fast. So be careful about that, play around with it, but that's just an indicator of how powerful it is. So use that to your advantage as well. And as you get the hang of lengthening and shortening your out breath and your in breath, start experimenting with other ways to use it. I'm told, and I've tried this some and found it to be true to a certain extent, that even something like whether you first address a person that you're talking to or a group, such as your class, after the out breath versus after the in breath of your breathing cycle can make a difference in the energy you convey. So more calmness if you address the group after the out breath. Hello. More energy if you address after the in breath. Hello. And that's subtle, but as you practice, if you find this helpful, go ahead and experiment even with those things. Now, I have 2 more cool things and 2 cautions to share about these breathing techniques. But before I do that, if you yourself have a favorite breathing technique or a breathing exercise that works for you, or just something you've learned about breathing, please go ahead and share it in the comments down below so that other viewers can benefit from that as well and try it out in their own teaching and their living. Okay, so 2 more cool things. Cool thing number 1 is that you can do all these breathing techniques while you're doing other stuff and without other people even really noticing. You're not taking a time out from everything else to do this breathing necessarily. So other people might see the effects that you're calmer, and then they might become calmer as a result as well. They might notice your energy and be energized by that as well. But you won't have had to take a full time out from what you're doing. Remember my example of walking back to my students. I was going to walk back there anyway. I just took that time to do that breathing. So I love about these breathing exercises that they can be embedded right into whatever you're doing anyway. Cool thing number 2 is really powerful, especially if you're dealing with stress from something that's not literally physically present. Like, for example, you're teaching, but you're also stressed about something else in another area of your life. Consciously focusing on something as immediate and as physical and as earthy as our breathing takes our energy and our focus away from, actually can make it hard in the moment. If you're thinking about breathing a certain way, it actually makes it hard to think about that other stressful thing. And so it redirects our thinking and our energy away from whatever that thing is to the present moment so that we can be more present for our students in this example, or for whatever else it is that we want to be doing. I want to share two important cautions because these breathing exercises are powerful and they go a long way, but they're not all powerful. So here are some caveats. Number one, breathing exercises are not a substitute for other healthy practices. So if we're so overworked, if we're not getting rest, any other thing that's in itself not a healthy thing, just some breathing exercises won't completely overcome it. They're not a way to help us just work even harder or to help us not need as much rest. They're things that can add to our health, and they're things that if for whatever reason we've been working too much or we have a particular source of stress or we're not well rested so we need that energy, if we are already in one of those situations, we have some tools for dealing with that situation in our breathing. But they're not a substitute for general healthy practices. So yes, use these breathing exercises, but also practice things like working less, practice other healthy habits and healthy practices. And you can find many of those in the videos on this channel. Caution number two, and this is actually a core awareness of TeachHuman overall, is that a lot of these practices, these habits that we use in order to be better, to teach and be better, are actually necessary in the first place, not because of something that we messed up, but because of stress created by other people or because of problems in the system. Departments, schools, districts, counties, states, national education systems, the public vibe about education, all those things are pretty broken. They cause a lot of damage, and a lot of that damage is to students. A lot of that damage is to teachers. And we actually shouldn't have to be responsible for always coping with things that are broken in the system, for needing to come up with techniques to work less or needing to come up with breathing techniques just to deal with our school day. But the way many parts of the system are right now, we do actually need those things just to get through the day, sometimes even just to stay alive. So yes, use the breathing techniques, use the other practices shared on this channel, but know that sometimes they're necessary because of messed up things about the world, including messed up things about schools and how schools work. Hopefully we can play a role in improving those systems or of tearing down systems and replacing them with better ones, but we may need techniques like these breathing techniques just to keep us alive long enough to do that and to be able to support our students in the meantime. Speaking of supporting our students, I said that there were two more cool things and two cautions, but I actually want to leave you with a bonus cool thing so that we can end on a positive note, which is that there are also breathing exercises that you can actually do with students of all ages, sometimes with tweaks depending on the ages of students, because students need this kind of thing too, and students need to learn these techniques as well. I've actually come up with several breathing exercises that you can do with students that simultaneously reinforce actual subject matter learning in whatever subject area you might teach. Those are shared in our Teach Like a Human program, which I'll link below. Also linked in the video description, in case you missed it, is our visual guide for ways to do less work as a teacher so that you can live your life more. Have fun exploring those resources and other videos on this channel. If you want there to be more, be sure to click subscribe, click the bell, like this video, comment below, and of course share with your colleagues and friends. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, keep breathing.